Hey, hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial by Flomotion. Because today I'm going to show you how you can create this. So let's get this done. And this tutorial will basically have two different parts. So the first part is setting up the footage, tracking a camera and putting an extra element into 3D space so that it looks convincing. And this is something that comes in really handy for many different shots, and you'll probably use that every day from now on. The second part is actually creating this cartoon-like animation, and therefore we are going to have a look at a special program called Vyond, and I'm going to guide you through the steps on what this really cool program is capable of doing, and I'm showing you how to create a character there and bring that into After Effects, into the scene that we will create at first. So let's directly get to it. So at first let's create a new composition with the footage that I have shot in an office. So let's drag it onto this new composition icon, and then we can directly go to the composition settings and set the start time code to 0 because that was the time when I shot it, but I want this to start at 0. Let's not make it that long, maybe just 8 seconds, so that we just don't have to do everything for 8 seconds, so the tutorial will be a little bit easier to follow. So this is what this shot looks like, and I filmed that with a gimbal, and I tried to have some foreground elements, some background elements, and some parallax within that shot. So parallax basically means that the background and the foreground have some offset, because this is something that is very important for a 3D tracker. It needs data to create the camera track. So if you try to hold your camera as still as possible and try to get a 3D track out of that, you won't get lucky. But this one should work pretty good. You can either use the camera tracker from the effects and presets, or you click on the layer, right click, track and stabilize, track camera, and this will open up the exact same effect as you would type in here, and it already starts analyzing without you doing anything. But I would recommend you, if you have a little bit more time, go onto the advanced settings and just check detailed analysis. In that way it will just analyze it a little bit longer, but of course more detailed, and this is what we want. We want to have a pretty good result in the end, and it tells me that it will still take about 50 seconds to do all of this, so let's just skip the next 40 seconds. Now the timing is over and it tells me that it is solving the camera. And also be sure that you don't have anything moving in your shot, and if you have something moving or something that's just not working for a tracker, let me scrub through this. If we have something like that, let's for example say that this point over here is not accurate. Just pretend that this is something that is moving a little bit. Imagine there would be a fly going through this image and a tracking point would stick to it. Then you can just click on it and delete it, and in that way it's solving the camera again, and the more correct tracking points you have, the better the solve will be in the end. And we can directly see that this solve has worked because the markers in the back are smaller than the markers in the front, and you can change the tracking point size. Now you really can see it, but let's just bring it back to 100. Okay, now let's go through it and check what we want to do. Later on we want to have our object and in the end our character walking over that table. So we want to find 3 points, or let's say at least 3 points, that are sitting close to the table. I would say that this point is pretty good. So I click on it, and while having control still selected, I'm clicking on the next one, and I think this could work. And let's find a third point, and maybe this point will work. So let's just click on it, and you can see that this has done a pretty good result, but while you're still holding down the control button, you can add more points. Maybe one in the back over here could also work, and be aware, the further the points are away, the better this will work, because then the rotation of the whole thing is better. Imagine you have a really big plate and you have like 3 legs where it stands on, so it gets more stable the further the legs are separated from each other. But for now I think those 4 points will work pretty good. So let's right click on one of them and we can create a text and camera, solid and camera. We could also create a shadow catcher, camera and light. That would mean we get a solid that is exactly in that position, which has already 3D settings to only accept shadows. So you won't see the plane, but it will accept lights and shadows. And it will also set up the light in a way that it casts shadows. So really handy. But for now, let's keep it simple and create a solid and a camera. And when you scrub through this, you see that the solid is attached to the table, but you can't really judge if it's working or not. So let's click on the solid, hit S for scale, and we just scale it up. And then I'm going to apply the grid effect to that solid. In that way, we just have lines where we can work with. And then I'm hitting W to get the rotation tool, and I can rotate this. So I'm just trying to align this as good as I can to the table. And now let's check how this looks. And yes, this looks pretty good. Yes, totally fine. For now, I'm going to uncheck the grid because now you have a 3D layer that represents the table. And this helps us when we create other elements, because then when we bring them up or down, we can see when they interact with that plane, when they sit on the table. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Let's make this an office and make this office text also 3D. And now I'm just zooming out a little bit, bring it over here. And now I don't know if it sits in the right position, but I can, as I told you, bring it up or down, and I see over here it interacts. So this is a really good method to find out where exactly in space you are. And now I can just push it back and hide the track solid for now. And we can, of course, duplicate the office and give it a different name, scene. Now we have the office scene and bring that one to the front. Maybe a little bit back, and then we rotate it so that it sits on that edge here. Pretty cool. Of course, you want to add more stuff to it, like maybe something like camera lens blur to that front layer, because that should be a little bit more out of focus than the back one, and there should be reflections and stuff like that. But for that, let's create our character. And then we really fine tweak that. Okay, turn off both of those, save it, and now we go into Vyond. And when you go to vyond.com, you find that button, make a video. And let's quickly do that. So therefore you can create a license for yourself or just use the free trial to get started. And there's also a link to the Vyond software in the description down below. So if you want to buy the software, just use that link, and in that way you support my channel. I like this kind of style here. So I select that style, and Vyond creates my first timeline for me. And this is the first scene that is already in here pre-made for me. So there's a title that I could add, something like Flomotion Vyond tutorial. And then I could basically grab each asset, move it, delete it, copy it, paste it, and add in stuff that I like. For example, I can go over here to the props and just find my way through it, or just search for something. Maybe I want to add a drum set. There is one. Let's just drag and drop it in there and make it a little bit smaller and place it behind myself. So really awesome. So this is the very basic of what you can do. Create small scenes on a timeline. Now let's get rid of this character here by simply clicking on him and deleting him. And over here you can add props, music, audio, text and whatnot, and also characters. And here you can really choose and customize characters. And this is what I have done here. I have created a flomotion character. So I tried my best to create my own look. This is what we would have right now. A cool scene, and of course you can customize it more, get rid of this dude here. And now I want to make some cool actions. Now I can just click on the character and add actions and expressions to him. And I want to walk. So let's just search for an action called walk. And there we have like a bunch of them. We can play them. Okay, this guy is walking downstairs. This one is walking with some box in his hand. Let's just apply that. And for my expression, the direction, I want to face the camera. So everything's super intuitive. And also I want to add a motion path. And let's just click over here. So I'm walking from here to here. And when I click on preview, it automatically creates that preview for me. And this is exactly how I create my assets. The downside is I can't export my assets with an alpha channel, so therefore we have to make a small trick. So let's just quickly add a blank scene and delete the first one. Then I add my character again make him walk. I think we had this one. This time I want to flip the action, and I just click on the background, and at the moment it's white, but I can of course choose a different color. So let's just make this green, and you guessed it, we're later on going to key out that green. And I can also make this a little bit longer. And while we're at it, for the audio, let's just also record audio. So I click on the add audio button, mic recording is fine. I click on record. Hey, hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial by Flomotion. And it has automatically recorded my audio. And the cool thing is what I can do, I click on the audio and then I can assign it. And at the moment I only have me as a character, so I click on me. And when I play this back now, hey, hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial by Flomotion. Really cool. But of course I want to change this a little bit, and I want to face the camera. Direction, face the camera. And I can preview this. Hey, hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial by Flomotion. Really, really great stuff. And there are millions of different actions you can choose from, different props, different sounds. So this is a really, really cool tool. Later on, I want to also show you how I integrate myself when I filmed myself for real in a green screen into an office. So let's quickly also create this office scene. And I'm therefore just choosing a template. Let's just search for office. And you see they really do have a lot of stuff there. And I'm going to choose that one. That was the one that I also used for the tutorial. And I'm just getting rid of this person here. Okay. Now I have this scene followed by that scene. And I'll also make this a little bit longer. Now I can just save it and directly download the video I've created. Download, and then I click on generate video in full HD. And now it is generating my video within the browser. And as soon as it is finished, I get an email notification as well as a download link. So back in After Effects, I have already downloaded and imported our clip. Let's just drag it onto a new composition icon. Hey, hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial by Flomotion. Okay, there we have it. So let's just trim it to where we want to have it. Trim comp to work area and bring out the key light effect. And this should work pretty good because we only have one color to deal with. Click on it. Then I hit Alt+4 to see the alpha channel, and I see that it is a little bit gray because there seems to be some greenish tones within my hair and my eyes. So let's just clip the white. There we have it. Looking really nice. We have a small outline around myself, but I can get rid of that by simply checking that unpremult box. Or I can go into the screen shrink and just shrink it like 1 pixel or so. And also give it a little bit of softness again and save this. Back in our office footage where we have tracked our scene, I can now bring this in. Before we turn this one 3D, let's bring out a ruler by hitting Ctrl R, and I want to have it at the exact point where my character is touching the floor, and then I hit Y so I get the anchor point and position that exactly on the floor. You can also click on snapping, and in that way it will snap to it. Now we can get rid of the ruler again by simply dragging it out of the window and make this a 3D layer. Now I can simply position this, and again we can use that trick to see where we are in space. Okay, and here I am touching the ground. So let's hit P for the position and set a keyframe. And we want to start maybe somewhere over here. outside of the frame at the beginning. So I'm pushing this to the beginning, and at the end, at the 7-second mark, I want to be walking all to the other side. Now let's hide this track solid, bring it to the start. Of course, we offset this a little bit so that I'm not flying on the table. So let's tweak this. Maybe I want to start somewhere over here. And why not walk completely out of the frame and a little bit to the back. Maybe I'm also starting a little bit further back. Hey, hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial by
flomotion.
And let's also end this here. Hey, hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial by flomotion. So at first what we can do is bring everything that is in front of me to the front. So therefore I'm just duplicating the footage and mask out this part of the chair, and I'm just doing this pretty rough. Set a keyframe for the mask. Then I go forward like one more frame or two and just drag it out of the frame so I don't have to deal with it anymore. Maybe we need to adjust it here a little bit better and feather it a lot, like 12 pixels or so. Hey, hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial. Perfect, and let's do the same thing for this notepad here. And just set a few keyframes. Then I'm also going to feather this a little bit, like 6 pixels. And now we are really starting to get somewhere. For now, let's just turn off the audio for the preview. Really cool. Now let's work on the integration a little bit more. Because as you see, all the other parts have reflections and also a shadow. So how do we do that? Let's just duplicate our Vyond layer and call the bottom one our reflection. And then just duplicate it once more and call it our contact shadow. So I'm hiding the shadow for now and just working on the reflection. And now we go into the scaling, because as we have set our anchor point exactly where the feet are, we can simply scale it around that point. And now we already have something that's looking like a reflection. Then I'm just going to mask out that part, hit F for feather this, and then I can just have a look on how long the other reflections are. Basically hit T for opacity, bring down the opacity, and then I'm also going to blur it with a Gaussian blur, because a Gaussian blur makes a really soft blur, but it also is pretty fast to render. That's really looking nice. I think we will have to adjust the mask here a little bit, but that's something we can do along the way. And now I also want to create a shadow, because as you see, the reflections are here, but there's also a pretty dark shadow wherever something has contact with the table. So let's do that, and therefore I'm going to the contact shadow. For the moment, let's disable the reflection, and I want to bring all of this down. But as we already have position keyframes, make sure that you are on one of those keyframes and then click on the word position, and in that way all keyframes are marked, and you can bring it down and all keyframes will go down at the same time. Okay, now we just have this little bit of an offset, and this is totally fine because I'm now just masking out that small part here, and then I tint it and blur it. Therefore for the tint I'm not doing it black and white but black and black, you see. And when I bring out the Gaussian blur again, I get this nice contact shadow, and again I can play with the opacity to not make it that strong. But now I have a shadow that interactively follows my feet, and in combination with the reflection, this is really looking very funny. Okay, now let's work a little bit on my colors over here to integrate me a little bit more. I want to have the overall colors of the room. You see, everything is a little bit bluish, cool, and with a cold color temperature. So how can we do that? Pretty easy. Let's duplicate our background. So we just have the background, and we want to have like the mixture of all those colors blending on my character. So let's just mix all the colors. Just bringing out the Gaussian blur again and really go high with it, just like so. and I can click on repeat edge pixels, and now I have all the colors in here. Now it gets a little bit tricky. I'm choosing my Vyond layer, bring it above the office footage, and use my layer as a matte. If you don't see the matte button over here, you can click on the toggle switches button, and now you have a matte and can use my character to stencil out the background. So now I have the colors of the background, and you can simply play with the transparency, but to make it a little bit more clever, because we just want to have it for the colors, we go to the blending mode, color, and now we play with the transparency. And this is the before and after. So it just integrates me better into the shot. So this is what we have at the moment. Really, really nice looking. And to tweak this even more, we can bring out a camera lens blur again and work on the depth of field of the Vyond layer, because as you see in the beginning, it can be a little bit more out of focus because I'm focusing on the keyboard. Set a keyframe for the blur radius, and we can just have as a reference the pencil, and the pencil is in focus somewhere around here. So let's bring it back to 0, and we have a nice focus pull. Now doesn't that look really great? And just think about how quickly we animated and set up all of this. And remember, the character is also speaking and moving his lips to the audio, so really great. So as a last thing, I just wanted to show you the other way around, having the Vyond footage, and I'll just bring it in here again, scrub through the end where we have created this scene, and now I'm just bringing in the footage that I have recorded, which is me on a green screen. Let's just simply bring it out until I sit down, make a rough mask, bring out the key light effect, and I'm just doing this really, really roughly. Bring in the blacks, clip the whites, and trying to match my size with this size. Maybe it also looks funny if I'm a bit bigger. And now again, there are two ways you can do it. You can either use the same layer, duplicate it, and mask out everything that's in front, or back in Vyond, you could simply use a green background, and then you can separate foreground and background. But for now, that will also work perfect. I roughly mask out this office scene. And there we have it. Now maybe I'm a little bit too big. Just bring me in position here. And there you have me sitting in this comic world that is really, really awesome. And just think about all the possibilities you can have with this amazing tools, Vyond in combination with After Effects. You can really stack your elements in depth, use a camera lens blur to create the effect that I have done in this small video here, where you can really drive the focus to tell a story or to show specific parts of the image, like when I'm showing my computer screen over here. So really powerful stuff, really quick, really fast, and it is really fun and intuitive to use. And this is already the end of the tutorial. So if you like what you see, if you learned something, maybe you don't want to use Vyond in the future, but you learned some workflow techniques and about 3D tracking, or maybe it's the other way around. You also really fall in love with Vyond and the possibilities you have with it, then feel free to subscribe to my channel, because in that way I can do way more tutorials like that, and I really love doing those. And for now, I wish you a lot of fun with Vyond and After Effects.